Hey, what's up guys? Kevin here with PogPogs, where today on the channel we're going to be going over another deck profile that I made for after the Battle City Speed Duel box. One that I feel is just a lot of fun and is different, so we can just get right on into it because this is really not new for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, but new for the game of Speed Duels. So if you didn't know, earlier this year in 2020 we had got American and Bakura Speed Duel decks. One of the skills for Bakura was Inner Conflict. If you don't know what Inner Conflict does, it says flip this card over when you activate the skill. Activate the skill during your main phase. Once per duel, you can pay half your life points and take control of one monster your opponent controls until the end phase, but it cannot attack directly this turn. That's good, right? And it has been good, and it's going to stay good, because one of the top decks right now uses this skill. No doubt, because not only does it allow you to clear an opponent's monster off their side of the field, but because we have Jinzo now, it's just even better. Jinzo is such a powerful card in Speed Duel, so yeah. But let's go over this deck and why we play the cards we play and the thought process behind putting these cards into this deck and how this deck is actually going to be played in general. So let's start off. We got 2 Bonzi alone, or Bones alone. What this card says is that it can't be spent normal or special summon if you control a monster, but you can special summon this card from your hand in attack position. So if you don't have anything on the field, on your side of the field, it's a free special summon. It becomes tribute fodder, basically, and that's why we're playing it, right? And the other effect is if another monster is summoned to your field while you control this monster, destroy this card. And we'll talk about that second effect and why it's important later, and why you might want to change this deck a little bit. Going on, we play 3 Breaker the Magical Warrior. On summon, he becomes 1900 attack because of the spell counter that he gains. Not to mention, he's also a source of back row removal. He's an MST on legs. Well, maybe not MST. It's not a quick play spell, right? But he becomes a back row pop. He's back row pop on legs, right? Then he becomes 1600 attack. Moving on, we have the first tribute summonable monster, Grand Marg, the Rock Monarch. We played 2 of these. We'll come back to him on why I want to play this in a little bit. 3 Jinzo. It's pretty self-explanatory. Jinzo is such a powerful card. Shuts down all traps. As you can see, we only played 3 traps down here, so we played 3 of this just for consistency's sake and being able to steal our opponent's stuff. 3 Book of Moon, because we are going to be playing against Jinzo a lot. We already know that. Book of Moon is a really, really great card for the meta to be used offensively and defensively. Really, really good. 1 creature swap. Now we can come back to Bones alone here. Because if you summon Bones alone, you don't have one of these 5 to summon. You can activate creature swap, give your opponent a Bones alone, and attack whatever else they have on the field instead. And then next turn, if your opponent summons a monster and they don't tribute this is just going to die anyway, so you're gaining card advantage. So very, very simple. You might want to bump this up to 2. I had it at 2. I cut it down for consistency reasons, but you can obviously take out, basically anything else and put this back up to 2, which is what I originally had it at. So but I have it at 1 just because it's rarely going to come up, but if it does, it's really funny. And even then, if they have something bigger, you can always just take, or you can just give them Breaker at 1600 and just take something bigger. Or they're going to give you something bigger. That's the thing, though, you have to be careful, because Creature Swap does say that each player gets to choose which monster they give to their opponent, so that's the downside about this card. 3 Offerings to the Doom, just an easy way to deal with Jinzo and basically anything else that's a problem. Drawing's not really a concern here. Once you gain an advantage, you kind of just stay in that advantage. If you lose that advantage, though, the same turn that you play Offerings, it's not good. So feel free to switch it out for Hammer Shot or whatever else you want to play instead. It's monster removal. Going on, 3 Soul Exchange. It's basically 3 more copies of Inner Conflict, except for the fact you don't have to pay half your life points, and you can't conduct your battle phase the turn that you activate this card. However, you can stack these. So if you really wanted to, you could play a level 7 like Angel 07, and summon a Bones alone on your second turn, or your second turn, and then tribute the Bones Alone and your opponent's monster in a soul exchange for 07. Or if you had an 07 and 2 of these, you can play on 2 different monsters your opponent controls and summon that 07 from both of your opponent's monsters. Yes, it does stack. You can activate more than 1 per turn. However, you do have to tribute those monsters. So really, really good. 3, again, once you get so far ahead, your battle phase really doesn't matter. You can lose a battle phase, you can lose a draw phase, but if you start getting behind, it really hurts. And finally, final 3 cards, they're traps. 3 Widespread Ruin. It is the bad version of Sekiretssu Armor, but it's still good because it gives you advantage. You're not really going to play too many traps anyways, because a lot of the stuff you have is already, 6 of the cards that you play that can be set in back row are already cards that can be activated in response. So 3 battle traps aren't bad. You're fine with this. You're not going to die from it. And if your opponent locks it down with Jinzo, you do have, other outs, as well as stealing their own Jinzo for your own stuff. So, and you can tribute their Jinzo. With that being said, Kevin, why don't you play Hades and Gop? Well, they're side deck cards, right? Why do you want to play Grand Marg over Hades and Gop? And the main reason behind that is because I want to be able to pop back row. There's not a lot of back row destruction in here besides the 3 breaker, but Grand Marg lets you destroy a set card. However, if your opponent activates that set card, and it stays face up on the field, Grand Marg's not gonna pop it. So why would we play Grand Marg? When a lot of people say he's the worst Monarch, the reason we play Grand Marg, right, is because we want to force our opponent to activate things when it's not ideal for them, right? If you can force your opponent to use a resource at the wrong time, it's still good, even if you don't get rid of that resource for follow-up plays. Secondly, it can also be used on face-down monsters, because those are set cards also. So if your opponent sets a monster, you can still pop that monster, and that is going to hit. Nothing's going to stop you from hitting that. But with that being said, well, let's look at Hades, or Hades as some people like to call it. And it gets the effects of monsters destroyed by battle with fiend monsters you control. I mean, it's good, especially if you get up against a stall deck that has a lot of graveyard that have to be destroyed effects. Maybe we see more giant rat. Maybe this gets more play. And then Gop, I'm just not a fan of Gop anymore. Like, again, unless it's like a stall deck, I want, nobody's really going to play in defense. A lot of people are just going to play in an attack. But you can play Gop. I like Gop. Gop's fun too, though. I know I just said I don't like it, but it's a fun card. It's weak too. It's weaker than everything else. Hades is 2450, the Grand Marg is 24, and the Jinzo is 24. So we're looking good as these. So that being said, anyways, the reason we only play 5 of these is because that is optimal enough. If we started playing more, we start losing advantage. Oh, by the way, you can also play Angel 07 if you really want to, again, because it was mentioned earlier. And you don't really have that much of a hard time doing that. You can, if you only have 1 soul exchange, you also got the inner conflict. And Angel 0 says monsters can't activate their effects, basically. So, you're not gonna run into a parasite. You're not gonna run into a what do you call it? A sphere Karibo. It'll get pretty easy, but you really don't need it. But if something were to be more effect heavy, then yeah, maybe play XYZs. Toss in the Angel 07s and they're not popping anything. But with that being said, you've already got Widespread Ruins, unless your opponent gets the big XYZ, but still, you can steal it. You might want to side more of these if you're not going to main them. At least side them. But with that being said, that's the deck. It's super easy. Even then, if your opponent doesn't summon, let's say you're going game 2 and your opponent doesn't summon, you can still special summon the Bones Alone, and there it is. If not, you really want to go second with this deck, because you're playing monster stealing here, hippity hoppity, it's now my property type of thing. So that's basically all you're going to be doing, and then just putting out big beaters. And if your big beaters survive, you contribute, or even if your breaker survives and you've already used its counter effect, You can always tribute it for Grand Marg or Genzo. They're always good. Always good. I just be careful against other inner conflict players in the fact that, you know, they're going to do the same thing to you, even if it's with just inner conflict. Super duper good. It's not much else. It's a very simple deck. It's pretty straightforward. It's just take your opponent's resources and use them as your own, and then plus off of that from dealing damage and getting to the end of the game quickly. Great thing about this is even if you summon either one of these and you've already used the effective breaker, if your opponent doesn't have a response, that's perfect 4,000. That's just a little bit of math. It's rarely going to happen, but it you know, it's just a little bit of a fact here, that's perfect 4,000, like exactly 4,000. So with that being said, what do you guys think? Do you like the deck? What would you change about it? Would you even give it a try? I call, basically this is my quote-unquote Monarch version 1. Not mainly for the fact that there's a Monarch in here, but for the fact that we're using the old style of like things like Soul Exchange, and then another card like Inner Conflict that mimics Change of Heart, basically, with life point reduction and another restriction. But we keep that open. Creature swap, again, any of these you can creature swap out. Or if you don't have something that can, you know, beat over anything else, creature swapping these big ones isn't a problem either, especially if the monster is bigger. It's really, really nice. You also have Book of Moon, again, like I said, to stall, and the widespread as a worse version of Sakuretsu armor, which I think if we ever got Sakuretsu armor, it's a staple, so why not this, right? But with that being said, you'd have to play it carefully. So again, guys, that's going to be it for me today. And don't forget to like, comment down below what you think about this deck. Again, would you play it? What would you change? Just leave a comment down below. We enjoy that. What other videos you would like to see? And don't forget to subscribe, give us a share here or there, and go ahead and check out the links for the 2 Discords, one of them being my own, and then a Tetris Speed Duel Discord server. And that's going to be it. Until next time, guys, this is Kevin with Pog Pogs. See ya.